Hi everyone, my name is Emm Gryner. I'm from the band Ovary Acts, and this is We Go to 11.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
Thanks so much for this. I mean, I think one of the things that caught my attention first of all was I had followed some of your solo work as a solo artist, but this is a metal specific project. So, when you started rolling out some preview type videos, I was like, well, this is going to be really interesting because it's something a little bit I guess off the beaten path for you, maybe as far as music, as far as recorded music, but you've always been a metal fan.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've crossed a lot of genres in my time, and a lot of what I do now is just sort of a mirror to what I did growing up. So,
Mhm.
like Iron Maiden was the first metal band that I discovered when I was 12 or 13. And that coincided with playing the bass. So in a lot of ways, this is sort of like coming back to that time.
So it's like going old school, so to speak.
Yeah, totally.
So, well, first of all, the name of it's a band or is it the project? Which is it?
Yeah, good question. I mean, you're my first interview, so
Oh, there we go.
a lot of it's just coming together now. And I think it is a band. Project's kind of a weird word, I think
Mhm.
sometimes. Alan Parsons Project.
Right.
It sort of conjures up something more academic than it
Right.
probably is. But yeah, so in the band right now, Keegan Bossel is playing guitar.
Mhm.
Um, and he's a 19-year-old kid from near where I grew up. And Tim Timlek, my friend who I played with in a band called Trapper, which is sort of a hard rock melodic band. He's playing drums. So right now it's the three of us, and everyone's sort of like open-minded. It could be it could include other people. It could change, I think when people sort of fixate on one band lineup, it can turn into a problem.
Right. So with that, I mean, being that it's a formal band, I mean, is the plan then at some point to do some live performance then? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, live shows are really where it's all at, right?
Mhm.
Um, so right now, like we've had one rehearsal. This is such early days for this band, but already in that first rehearsal, you could feel that, there's enthusiasm for this and even though everyone's kind of beamed in from different planets, it's working right now. So
And as far as the name of the band, I mean, what inspired that? Because that's in itself pretty unique.
thanks. Yeah. I grew up a real I was a crier, like always upset. I'm highly sensitive, like a highly sensitive person. And I think that's why I became a songwriter. Like anyone who's listening to this who's a songwriter knows like it's hard to just like operate as a human being. So then you got to put it in a song. And my mom actually would always say like, "Oh, you're always overreacting. You're overreacting. You're over exaggerating." To the point where I kind of like hardened up after a while, and I was like, "Okay, then I won't cry anymore." And then, that gets you into trouble later in life when you kind of have that hard shell. So overreacts is kind of just that way to take back, whatever feeling you want to feel or say or scream or sing. Let's just do it.
Right. Right. So,
Do you ever feel like screaming, Ruben? In a rage?
well, I almost felt like that earlier. I mean, it just seems like, yeah, everybody feels that, I think, to a degree. Sometimes you wish you could, and you're not in a position where you can do something like that. And you have to like hold on to it, which, as you're probably aware, it's not very healthy to do.
Yeah, like now we have those like rage rooms where you can go and
Mhm.
break stuff.
Right.
That says something where we're at.
Right.
I kind of encourage everyone to start their metal band or punk band or whatever it is now.
So, and that leads to the next question. I mean, I would assume that this is all pretty therapeutic for you.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I don't know what happens like later in life, you kind of stop singing for fun and,
Mhm.
you know, anytime I'm singing, actually, it's pretty therapeutic. Doesn't really matter what kind of music it is. So,
Right. So you do have rise up to fall, and that is got gosh, I read the description of how you described it. It really encapsulates all that. It's like it's metal, it's punk, it's pop, it's power pop. I mean, it's like everything all encompassed into one tune. Is that, well, tell us about that song, first of all, and then we'll get into maybe what the rest of the music is going to be like or sound like or what the influences are.
yeah, Rise Up to Fall wasn't the first song that I wrote for the band. Face the Fire was, but that was inspired by the Giselle Pellico trial in France. And then this one is just like, like 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes and 45 seconds of just like, say what you gotta say, get in and get out. It's about celebrity and political figures being in a place of power, and we always know they come down after a while, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of anger in maybe the way things are right now, but I also see that there's a lot of brokenness behind everyone. And it's just about, it doesn't really matter if it's like a celebrity or political person. Anytime you kind of think you're on top of things and you're sort of bringing everyone down with you, you end up coming down, I think, as well. So that's what Rise Up to Fall is about.
Right. What about so what is the plan? Is this going to be full length album, EP? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, it'll probably end up being an album. I am a old school album person.
Yeah.
But I'll probably roll out like single by single. It's more fun that way, just to like see what comes out. And, if anyone is like uploading stuff to Spotify now, you kind of just have to get your first thing up there, and
Right.
then you can actually be an artist,
Well,
because it's really hard to get just started on your first single. Yeah, I think like with a lot of my projects, I plan them, I over plan them. And with this, like, I want it to stay kind of spontaneous, like the music, right?
mhm.
Um, there's so much that's just too thought out these days, like everyone's strategizing and all this, and just like that's not really, if it becomes that for me, then it's not going to be fun, I think.
Right. So definitely not calculated is what you're saying.
Yeah, and like I met this girl in my town, and she's like in her 20s, and she books like bands for like a pub, and she's this really brilliant student, and she was just like, well, you know why do you need to play the biggest place in the city to start off with? And of course, it's like my background is very much like, dipping my foot in high society here and there and playing with big bands. So I'm like, well, what do you mean? I'm supposed to like play play to like five people?
Right.
And in a way, that's okay. Like that's where to start. And
Mhm.
what are you trying to do? Like I think with metal and punk, sometimes it's like we we'll do it if there's five people, we'll do it if there's 5 million people,
Mhm.
right? Like that kind of passion and commitment
Yeah.
is what I think it's about. It's not about like, let's play that big festival in Germany,
Sure.
although I would like to do that.
Yeah. Right. I think that that thing that you're saying makes a lot of sense. If I remember, you're probably familiar with Ghost, right?
Hmm.
So when they first formed out in my area, first tour, first album, I think there were more people there for the openers because of her relatives and, parents, grandparents, spouses, and probably teenage sons, daughters and stuff. And, openers were done. And then here comes Ghost. And I'm looking around and I'm like, geez, there's probably like 40, 45 people here.
Wow.
But look at them now. You know what I mean? It's like they duked it out. Now, they're playing amphitheaters and arenas and stuff. So, I mean, it's,
Mhm.
yeah, you just never know.
Yeah, and it's also an interesting experiment, like what a thought to do something for love and for,
Mhm.
because you really love the music,
Right.
right? I think we've lost sight of that a little bit with all the strategizing going on and the, formulas for rolling out your content and whatever, it's like, it gets really exhausting, I think.
So for yourself, because I think, I think just even over in the past 5 years, things have changed so much. But since you started, recording and releasing your music, what's been one of the most challenging things in getting the music out?
Oh, good question. I feel like I was born at the perfect time
Mhm.
because like I grew up in the 80s and got all that weird excessive energy. And then the 90s, right? Like I got a little taste of that major label thing, which was freaky, like I felt like a hype around my career that was sort of like, what is this? It doesn't feel real to me kind of thing. And then all the internet stuff and then touring with David Bowie and all that. I think for me, the real challenge has been actually it's not really about the way anything comes out. Like I've never been bothered about you know, like streaming. I don't get all upset about that or anything like that. I think it's just like what we do with ourselves, like there's so many roadblocks that can get in the way of what we really are supposed to be creating,
Right.
whether it's like a manager telling you something or like, family and now I have kids and, where do I live? And like you can let those things be barriers to your passion, or you can just remember what you're there to do and just do it. Right. So life has kind of been like a bit of a curveball to everything. Some people navigate it really well, but I find I kind of want to live in the moment sometimes, right? As well. So then you're like, well, this is my time to like have babies, and then now it's not or whatever. So yeah, I think just being clear, making a clear path for your creativity. Do you know what I mean?
Right. And how have you kept yourself from getting an inflated ego? You know what I mean? Because I know, like you've said, you've had a bite of the success in terms of like the major labels, working with Bowie, even with Leopard. You did some stuff with Leopard, Def Leppard. Um, how do you not let that get to your head? Because I'm guessing, at some point, this is pretty cool, and you don't want that to kind of inflate the ego.
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, to be honest, like I haven't always been great with that. Like I came out of the gate like wanting a record deal when I was younger, got it, and then touring with Bowie was like a level of like it was a real gift to see like how a rock legend actually functions, you know what I mean? It was sort of like a way to see fame without me having to be the center of it. Um, but I think because of some of those like big moments, it's hard for me to like do, like I said, like kind of playing like a little bar or something, right? So I think it comes down to talking to like new artists and being around new um musicians, because then you start seeing things through their eyes and you're not just like someone who's been around for 500 years and you think that the world owes you stuff, which is really quite boring. Like I've seen that in other people. So I think like really like getting offline, going out for coffee with people or like going to see other bands, like always discovering new things because that's where that energy is. There's that energy of like enthusiasm. And that's why I'm really lucky I have Keegan in this band because, he's 19 and just seeing everything with new eyes and like, like so jazzed about like going to see Starset play acoustic in Michigan and like learning about all these other bands and teaching me about bands. So yeah, just keeping your eyes open, I think.
Right. And what do you recall being like the best career advice that you've received by someone, and who was that?
Um, a long time ago, I was booked by this woman named Nikki Rayum, and she works for a management company now. But recently, like I was just doing my normal kind of ruminating, like, I've got all these projects and now I got this metal band and she was just like, well, get off your ass and do it, you know? And it's just like, oh my God, like that's the best advice, right? just get off your ass and do it. Because then there's no other way to know whether you even like it, right? Like everyone thinks they want all this stuff, and unless you actually do it, go out and get it or experience it, you don't really know if it suits you, right?
Right.
So,
What about a career regret in terms of like, oh, I wanted to do that, I should have done that, and now you're kind of kicking yourself a little bit about not following through.
oh man. Um, there's not very many. I mean, I think I could have been better with money when I got my record deal. I wish someone told me like, buy a house or something,
Mhm.
But that's more like just a life thing. In terms of music, I don't know that I have like a huge regret. Because I think that everything I've done, like all these crossing over of genres and doing all these different things that to most people would be very mind-boggling,
Right.
they're just have led me right here, which is a perfect place for me to be.
How many back in the day, I know the music video budgets were nuts, right? How many records do you think you could record in the present day, with just a one video budget, realistic?
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. Like, what kind of a budget are you talking about?
Well, you always hear about like some of these 80s rock bands, and it's like, hey, yeah, we needed to sell X amount of sell like 1 million records just to kind of, be at a point where they could even be earning just minimal money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen those budgets where some bands have, nearly 500,000 for a video.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
more.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I've talked to some like really great producers who say like don't make a record for under $10,000. Right. And then there's other producers that are like won't even leave their house for like under $50,000. And then it just goes up and up, right? Or you can find someone locally who's just super, super talented who can help you make your record. I mean, with Overreacts, that's one thing I'm really proud of is like, literally this single cost hardly anything, like hardly anything. And it sounds so great.
Yeah.
And then, I recorded the video for this single, which it's not out today. I don't know when this is coming out, but like I just went to the library and just brought my projector and just like put my fishnets on and just did the video, right? Like brought my bass. And I also like love that permission that gives other people. Like you actually don't need a lot of money to make something great.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like when people shoot a full-blown video with like iPhones and stuff like that, I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like everything's so accessible to people now that it's just about how lit up can you get, how creative can you get in a way that makes you happy, right? Like, and it's such a great time really to be making music and to be expressing yourself.
Right. So, okay, so when does do you have a release date for the video, I guess? When can we see that? Because I know you shared some snippets, a little bit of, kind of what you were just describing about like just playing in front of a projector and then stuff being projected in the background and stuff.
Yeah. Well, when does this air, Ruben?
Whenever you would like, actually, I mean,
Okay.
I think we're pretty open. I mean, we can talk about that after we get this done and then figure out when we want to roll it out as well.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be out by the release date. The song is out on June 14th. So
Okay.
if it's out after that we've got a problem, I guess. But
Right.
a really talented videographer and filmmaker named Jeff Eden is helping me with this video.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's one of the things I did in one of my very first music videos is just like have projections beamed on me, and it gives this great effect, right? Nowadays you can just do so many things in all the editing programs and everything, but there are also really easy ways to do things if you don't know how to use that stuff. So
Right. Now, what about yourself? I mean, as far as like dream collaboration, somebody hard rock, somebody metal. I mean, you've already worked with Bowie, so and you've worked with Leopard, so there we can take them out of the equation. But what about anybody that you would like to collaborate that's on the harder, heavier end of things?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I don't know. I'm a big fan of the vocalists, right? So I love Bruce Dickinson. I love Jeff Tate. Um, I think Steve Harris as a bass player is one of my favorites, right? Yeah, I don't know. I guess sometimes it's hard to say. I do think like time's ticking with some of these folks, right? So you want to see if you could probably collaborate with them. Someone who did play on the next single is Tara McLeod from Kitty, and I think like she's really amazing too. Um, so hopefully I get to do more with her. She's an incredible guitar player.
Right. Yeah. Nice. I mean, I know, are you much of a fan of like the Todd La Torre Queensrÿche? Have you heard any of that or caught them live or anything?
Yeah, we just saw them actually in Florida recently, and yeah, it was pretty solid, I'd say. I mean, I know there's a whole like, everyone is it like fighting? Are people fighting? Yeah.
Do you remember? I'm sure you probably remember, when you had the people that were Roth fans and Hagar fans, and I was kind of always a fan of both. I mean, there were different bands. I right now, I mean, I'm kind of we're just having a discussion with a friend. I don't mind having two separate bands, the Queensrÿche guys and Tate, because I'll go see them both.
Yeah, I think like from what I've seen of Jeff Tate's project, it's got some bonuses as well, like some of those players are really great. I do think Todd's an incredible vocalist. Someone I'd love to work with on guitar is Nuno Bettencourt one day.
Oh yeah.
Just incredible. I know you might not classify him as a metal guitar player,
Oh
but
no, he's great. I mean, I saw them. I think my couple. I don't. Wasn't last year. A couple years ago with they were headlining and they had Living Color with them. I mean, what a great bill.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah. There's a lot of great folks.
yeah. Nice.
I do love Starset. I think they're a great new
Oh,
band.
right.
Yeah.
How'd you discover them?
Again, through Keegan, my little guitar player friend. At one point, I can't got to stop playing, saying he's my little guitar player friend.
Now,
Yeah.
I was going to ask. I mean, do you find it hard, as far as some of maybe people to kind of discover new music? It's almost like sometimes we get stuck in the familiar stuff. It's easier to listen to Queensrÿche and Iron Maiden and listen to the old records. Sometimes people don't even check out their new music. I mean, why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, I think we listen to music in our younger days and it fuses to us differently, right? Because our brain is still developing. It becomes a soundtrack to really formative things, like whether it's happiness or like surviving something. So I know for me, like a lot of that classic metal and rock is tied to like growing up,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
As great as people can make like new records, that's a hard thing to compete with, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, but then sometimes I just think some of that older stuff is better anyway. And maybe that makes me old, but I think the way to break out of that is just like, if you're always looking at that stuff online, the older stuff, you're not going to get fed any new stuff. So you got to go seek it out or go see new bands. Oh, another band I got to see recently was Castle. Do you know Castle? Oh, wait, you're on mute.
What kind of music do they play?
Oh, it's like super dark, kind of witchy metal.
Okay.
They're like half Canadian, half American. Castle. They're incredible, actually. So how did I find out about them? I was just
Yeah.
traveling and just old school, like looked up who was playing in LA that night, and I went to this really tiny club and there was hardly anyone there, but they put on this world-class show. So that's another way, right? Just like, again, get out there and go see some shows.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's nuts. I went was it Sunday, Saturday night, saw the Lords of Acid, which was kind of out of my wheelhouse a little bit. I mean, that was one of those bands that I was familiar with and like some of their stuff, just mostly because that was a lot of my brother was into a lot of the alternative stuff and
Yeah.
things like that. And they were coming to town and I was like, I might go check them out. The thing sold out and it was a fun night. You know,
That's awesome.
totally different.
Yeah, I think there's just still that magic in live music, and you just gotta go out and support it, right?
Sure, for sure. So, okay, getting back to the Ovary Acts music. I mean, how many tunes do we think are gonna be comprised of this band effort?
That's a good question. I mean, again, I'm not really planning it out. I think like I'd love to just kind of keep the momentum up and keep releasing stuff through the year. And the way I'm doing it is just like, working at home, and then Tim plays his drums at his place. And I think if you have the right players, you can really record remotely, but have that band energy. I wouldn't really recommend it for everyone. Like I've done recording all ways, right? Live off the floor, multi-track, just solo, done it all. And it just takes the right kind of mindset to bring like energy to a take if you're like doing it in your basement by yourself, right?
Right.
And then I have to shout out Ian Romano, who mixed this track, and he's sort of like in a hardcore punk world, but he really got it. And that's the other thing, right? You have to have someone who can mix it like it's a live show, I think.
Right. Were there any challenges as far as recording any of this stuff where you're like, oh, that just sounds calculated. We're not gonna go with that. And how do you get to a point where you, I guess, you become content with the outcome?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've rushed through pretty much everything in my life. Like just, I don't know if it's like a Gemini thing, but like, got to put out an album this year and just got to get it out, got to keep going. And with this, I actually said, okay, just take a minute, right? And like, I put down the guitars first myself. And then I literally just like in GarageBand initially, just put them down. I thought, wow, these sound so good, right? And then you just live with it for a little bit and you can invite other people in, right? And see maybe someone else can do it better, right?
Right.
And that's what I did. And I think there just comes a time where you're like, okay, this is getting it now. So let's wrap it up, I think as long as you're really just like communicating, I know it sounds cheesy, but like from the heart and the passion of what the initial songwriting idea was about, you can't really go wrong, right? It's just when you take it out of the heart and you put it into the head and you start thinking like, whoa, I'm not sounding like all those modern metal bands. I got to do something about it. Then I think you're going down the wrong kind of path there.
Right. Right. Nice. What's that takeaway that you got from your time working with Bowie? Something that helped, improve what you do?
I think to really just do what lights you up. Like when I toured with him, he was 55 years old and really like excited about like the internet, which had just kind of started, and he'd started like Bowie Bank, and then he had like Bowie Net. I was sort of like witness to all these like new things he was doing. And I think like I was a 20-something-year-old watching all that. I just thought, okay, well, he's like a lot of people could have stopped at Let's Dance or any like Ziggy Stardust or anything like that, just stopped there and just been quite happy with that. But like, if you really want to enjoy your life, like do something that you're super excited about,
Right.
despite what people think. Like, so I think that might be a bit simple, but it's harder to do than you think. Like, especially with social media and everyone telling you what to do.
Right.
So,
Yeah, you're right. Because I mean, he could have done all the hits up until that point and just done like hits tours over and over and over.
yeah.
But he remained creative till the end.
Yeah, he really did. And that's the thing I think you have to strive for. Does it light you up? And then if it lights you up, can you be brave enough to just say that that's enough, right? Like, how much are we going to go around pleasing everybody? It just seems boring,
Right. Right. So what's the Def Leppard connection? Now, how did you wind up working with them? Because is there some history there? I think there was, right?
Yeah. I met Joe from Def Leppard at an after party when I was singing with Bowie, in Dublin. He was there, and I was just like, it was my first live show with Bowie. And I remember seeing him, and I begged Mark Platty, the musical director in Bowie's band, to introduce us, because I'm just a huge, like, of any band that I listened to when I grew up, Def Leppard were my favorite.
Nice.
So, yeah, we became friends. I gave him one of my albums, Joe, one of my albums. And then since then, I've performed on, performed on Drastic Symphonies, their classical album, and played with them live. So, if my 12-year-old self knew that was going to happen, I wouldn't have believed it at all.
What did you perform on? Yeah, now you're going to make me go dig up my liners and look through that app.
Yeah, one of the I should know this, right?
Yeah.
21st Century Boy, maybe?
Oh,
Or
okay. Yeah.
yeah. I know that they mixed it around after I sang on it. There's one of two songs on that record. He'll be mad that I don't know, but yeah. And then also my hard rock band Trapper, we opened for them in arenas, which was that was a real highlight too. That
Now,
felt very natural.
what was the anxiety level on that one?
None, zero.
Okay.
Yeah. Which also this is what fueled Overreacts as well. Like, knowing that in my past, it felt very normal to put on like liquid leggings and a whole bunch of belts and like run around and sing like hard rock, right? It's like the easiest thing in the world for me. So yeah. I mean, I think that's anyone who's watching this, like, if you kind of look back at when were you the most happy,
Sure.
that gives you a clue for what you should be doing now, right?
Mm-hmm. Nice. Now, okay, so one thing we've figured out, the name of the band is Overreacts. There's a couple tunes out. There's going to be a video. You said was it the 14th? Did you say the 14th of June?
June 14th, yeah.
14th, so we got that. We don't quite know how many tunes there's going to be. You're going to roll these out. I call what you're doing the Stephen Pearcy model, because he was going to do that at one point prior to I think he threw in the towel on that. I think a lot of these guys that don't stick with it just kind of get frustrated, but you seem like you're dedicated to doing it this way, and I'm sure you're going to push forward until you're done. But
Yeah.
so you're doing that. There's going to be songs kind of sprinkled throughout, I guess, the next few months, I think, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And this is not a project. This is, in fact, a band, and you hope to take this to the live set. So that's also cool.
Yeah, so I appreciate you talking to me when it's so early days, It's like you're the first one who asked, and it's really nice to be asked about it. And I don't have all my feelings formulated yet. I don't have the songs all done, but I think it's taken up enough space, like, in my mind and my heart, that I know it'll keep going. And I do hope to be able to play live shows with this band. I see it, So hopefully I'll like roll back this podcast and say, hey, I did see it. I visualized it. So
Out of curiosity, favorite Def Leppard record, which one is the one that really hits the spot for you and it's the go-to?
Favorite Def Leppard record? Hysteria. And I know there'll be a bunch of people that are like Pyromania and High and Dry and everything, but like I was born in 1975, so it was
Right.
Hysteria 100%.
Right.
Um, yeah, just hands down.
A favorite tune on that one?
Um, I mean, I do love Hysteria. I just think it's such a great song, you know?
I'm with you. Like, that's the one I never get tired of. There's something about it. It always, like you were
Yeah.
just saying earlier, it always takes you back to that time. And I don't think, that's got to be the best one, the best tune. I mean, again, I like some of the earlier albums a little more, but that one always slots in the top 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. And I had to play it with them on the BBC, just like play like piano on it. And that was probably a highlight of my entire life, just like to play those chords and, you know, they're just it's such a classic song. So
Nice. Well, thanks so much for your time. I'm going to ask a couple more things before I let you go. One, this is going to be for We Go to 11. So if you're familiar with Spinal Tap, do you have a good Spinal Tap-esque type story that you can share with us?
um oh God. Um let me think about this. Oh yeah, sure. Okay, so this is kind of like the puppet show thing.
Yeah.
In 1998, I had to play my acoustic guitar at Serendipity Ice Cream Shop in New York City. And it was the last thing that everyone wanted to hear when they're out, like having their ice cream with their kid. Like I was coming around playing like these tortured, depressed songs. And that was probably my Spinal Tap moment.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you were a good sport about it even.
Yeah. I'm bitching about it all these years later. I'm such a great sport.
Thanks so much. Hey, I should think this is cool to be able to chat with people about their music and stuff.
Okay. Thanks, Ruben.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon. Bye.